Welcome and thanks for joining us for the Esri Tackle Project Delivery Challenges with GIS webinar. We've got an informative session planned here. Thanks for taking time to join us. We're going to share a story with you, told from the perspective of a small municipal utility department. They were tasked with delivering mission-critical services in a challenging environment. We're going to hear directly from the change agent at the municipal utility itself, from the engineering firm who helped the town implement the solution, and from our own expert at Esri, who is a champion for AEC project delivery subscription. I'm Mark Goldman. I'll be moderating today's discussion. I'm the Director of AEC Industry Solutions at Esri. I've worked at the intersection of technology and construction for my entire career, and I'm excited to be at Esri helping to ensure our solutions meet the industry's needs. With me as a team I've come to know over the past few weeks as we've been chatting about this topic. Specifically from Esri is my colleague, Micah Callow. Micah is the technical director for the AEC Global Business Development Team and our resident expert on more topics than any one person should be allowed to be an expert. And we're joined by Russell Sells, the general manager of the Metro Utility Department at Lynchburg, Tennessee, and Benjamin Lundberg and Thomas Catlett. They're joining us from the engineering firm S&ME. If you're like me, if you've enjoyed a Jack Daniel's drink in the past few years, if you have these three gentlemen to thank for you because they've been keeping the water clean and the utilities pumping in the town, famous for Jack Daniel's Distillery. I'll let Micah, you give a brief intro of yourselves and our friends from Lynchburg go through as well.
Excellent, thank you, Mark. Really a pleasure to be with you guys today. I'm going to talk a little bit about AEC project delivery. I'm the technology director for the AEC sector. I support a lot of you and the customers around what you're doing with our technology in the architecture, engineering, construction, and environmental management world. Pleasure to be with you guys today. Russell?
Yeah, thank you, and I'm glad to be here today also. My name is Russell Sells, and I'm the general manager of Metro Utility Department in Lynchburg, Tennessee, small little town in southern Middle Tennessee. I have been in this position since February of 2019. I came from a background of 20 years career firefighter before I made it into the water treatment side of things. Did that in about 2014 when I got into it. Just looking forward to a great webinar, and you got some great presenters that'll hopefully share some knowledge on some things. Thank you.
Welcome everybody. My name is Benjamin Lundberg. I'm a GIS analyst with S&ME. I've been with the company for just over a year now. I've got 15 years of experience in GIS from state, county, and private organizations. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Thomas Catlett. I'm also a GIS analyst with S&ME. I've been with the company for 2.5 years and spent 6.5 years in the public sector previously.
Great. Now everyone knows a little bit about us. Before we jump fully in, I do want to give one last shout out for an Esri event, our user conference. It's virtual this year, same dates as it would have been physical. It is definitely turning out to be the world's largest virtual GIS event. Looks like we're going to have more attendees, more content, more opportunities to connect than in any user conference in the past. In fact, any user of our software conference is free to open to join the plenaries, to sign up for sessions, the how-tos, the customer presentations, and much more. So we look forward to seeing you there, esri.com/UC. And with that, over to you, Micah. First, we've been talking about project delivery, well, since I started about 6 months ago. You were a few months before me, and this is, a topic that is something that we're constantly batting back and forth. You said it real succinctly the other day. Essentially, you described project delivery as a new way to deliver services, a way an AEC firm might have already been performing services, but didn't necessarily have an easy way to kind of deliver that value to the client. Kind of packages things up that might have already been in the works.
Yep, thank you, Mark. So AEC project delivery has kind of been a long time coming. We've got this need that's driven from AEC firms and commercial firms in general for delivering content to its customers. The issue we run into is the internal licensing is not really designed to do that. It's not something we typically are allowed to do with our core licensing. So what we are looking for was a way to communicate and collaborate with our customers and stakeholders external to our internal organization. AEC project delivery is the answer to that question. Well, I guess the first answer to that question is if the customer already has ArcGIS Online and is willing to communicate and collaborate through things like group sharing, that would be one way. The other way, because that's not typically enabled, would be through AEC project delivery. And AEC project delivery is just simply ArcGIS Online with a different licensing model. This licensing model enables you to commercially put this out there as part of a solution or a service offering. And then that allows you to hand content over and work through apps and data and things like that that you want to collaborate with. AEC project delivery comes with 2 creator licenses right out of the box with the subscription. And the reason that is because obviously somebody has to initially administer and manage the site, and we oftentimes want to have a backup for that. After that, all of the users that you need to purchase for customers or external parties can be purchased in a normal manner that you would for ArcGIS Online. And you can see those pricings online as well. The big key here is the licensing agreement. It doesn't require a multi-tenant agreement, which if you're running your internal system and you wish to share with customers and you don't have a multi-tenant agreement, that starts to get into some issues with your licensing. The other thing that it does that I don't have written on here is that ArcGIS AEC project delivery allows you to isolate client information so that you're not cross-pollinating that critical project data from one customer to another. It provides a nice, succinct, clear definition between projects. So what is it? There's 2 levels of it. First one I'm going to talk about is ArcGIS Online. The online integration effectively has it where your internal system is ArcGIS Online, cloud-based, Esri hosted, and you want to deliver to a number of different clients, whether they be clients, whether they be projects or opportunities, like you see on the right-hand side here. For example, Acme Oil and Gas, or the Mega Rail project, or the City of Pawnee. So these are all customers that we're delivering some level of a program project to, and that we have a need to collaborate with. So in this scenario, our environment on the back end, ArcGIS Online, is connected so that we separate our system of record and our system of engagement with the customer, but we also aren't duplicating our effort. The other really nice thing is that AEC project delivery is just ArcGIS Online. So there's a familiarity with how it's managed, administered, and what tools are in it with your internal environments. And speaking of internal, some people go a little bit further where they're dealing with ArcGIS enterprise environments. And in this scenario, and this is just one of a few scenarios we've got a ArcGIS enterprise environment that's sitting on the back end, and we're using our ArcGIS Online as a kind of proxy. This allows us to share to multiple ArcGIS Online project delivery subscriptions in that same scenario we showed a minute ago. But what this does is allows you to connect one or many enterprise environments. There are quite a few other options, and you can think about things like enterprise project delivery. That is an option that we've recently opened up for certain business scenarios and where it makes sense. But in this situation, what you're seeing is this ability to move information from your system of record to your system of engagement. And that's really important because it allows you to deliver focused apps to your customers. So this allows you to determine what the customer needs to see and make sure that you're delivering it to them on time, when they need it, and where they need it. It integrates with your existing web platform, which is really critical because then you're not duplicating a lot of your efforts. It supports your ability to scale and grow. And it does that through the ability to automate what you're doing, right? So we can decide that we have 4 or 5 types of projects, and we can templatize those and automate the spin up of those project delivery subscriptions with that template in mind. And that can include everything from data to maps and apps to the way it looks. And that will allow you to kind of implement these much quicker and more at scale. And above all else, I think there's this idea that it's moving it from an internal CapEx expense for an enterprise system to a project delivery system, which is a project expense. And that's the cost of doing a project these days, right? And the trade-off there is, well, I could create thousands and thousands and thousands of static maps, or I could just invite you to my project delivery subscription, and you'll have a lot better information at when you need it and where you need it. So what I'd like to do is actually hand it over to our client, S&ME, and their client, the Mud District, with Russell, so that they can talk a little bit about how they are leveraging project delivery in the work that they're doing. So Russell, you want to tell us a little bit about yourself and what you're doing?
Yeah, Micah, thank you. I'd like to first take a second to just thank Esri for putting this webinar together, and they took a big time interest in what we're doing in our small utility that we have. As I stated before, I am the general manager of Metro Utility Department. It's located in metropolitan Moore County in Lynchburg, Tennessee. Of course, we got, pretty big customers here in this area. The license I do hold is a grade 4 water treatment license and a grade 2 distribution license. My previous experience, I stated before, I came from 20 years as a career firefighter before I transitioned into the water industry. And there I'd had enough dealings with GIS mapping to see how beneficial it definitely is to that world and how it would definitely fall into this realm and be very beneficial also. So, who is MUD? That's the whole meat of the question. We need to find out who we are and what situation we have going on here. We're a small utility, what we consider a small utility. We only have 309 sewer connections, have 42,000 linear feet of sewer main, mostly all gravity main. We have 2,503 water customers, around 238 miles of water mains in the ground. We have a wastewater treatment plant that we have 2 employees, full-time employees at. That's a relatively new plant. It's a SBR style plant. And we have a conventional water treatment plant that has 5 employees there. We operate around the clock to provide good water to our community. All in all, our company has 18 employees, and that's both distribution crew, collection crew, office personnel, along with our plant staff that we have. So when I was hired on in February 2019, one of the items that I was tasked with was to look at our I&I, or infiltration and inflow, in our collection system. We knew we had a problem. How bad it was, we really didn't have a full grasp on. We knew that during peak rain events, we would get up to around 76% I&I coming in. Just in normal wet months, where it's just standard rain, not hard downfall, it was still holding 52%. And even during dry summer months, due to how many springs we actually have in the area, we would have up to 44% I&I still coming into the system. Stated that the wastewater plant was built in 2016. It had a permitted capacity of 300,000 gallons per day with a design capacity of 400,000 gallons a day. I was hired February 11, 2019, and on February 18, 2019, we had a 100-year flood. The picture to your left is the county park, the city park, where the Jack Daniels barbecue is actually held every year. This park was totally flooded. We had a lot of water coming down our system. The plant influent actually reached a maximum of 650,000 gallons during that peak rain event. So yes, we definitely had a problem, and we were going to have to figure out how to fix that. So old mud. Old mud is what I believe, in my opinion, there's a lot of utilities out there that are just like us. We are still operating off outdated, inaccurate paper maps that are out there. A lot of it is this infrastructure was put in 40, 50 years ago, and for the biggest part is out of sight, out of mind. As long as it's working, as long as things are flowing downhill and water's going to the right customers, it's out of sight, out of mind. There's nothing really that can be done. So we get to looking at this problem, and we're having to go out and find infrastructure that's placed in the ground that could have been covered up during that flood, such as this manhole. So where is this manhole? And this is exactly how we started out. We broke out the paper maps. We first spent, a few hours looking for those paper maps, and they may be inaccurate. They may actually show where the infrastructure is. And then you get there and the infrastructure is not actually there. You can't locate it. You're looking everywhere for it, scratching your head. And that's where we saw ourselves when we first got going on this project. We knew we had to move forward. So how were we going to fix this problem? First bit of suggestion advice I would give to anybody, especially as a general manager, is listen to your chief operators. Those guys are the ones that are, they're holding the line. They're out there. They see when the problems are happening. They know when the plant's not running right. They know there's an issue. Plus, they usually have years of experience in the field, and they've got plenty of connections. And that's exactly what we did. Randy Johnson, who is the gentleman on the left, he's my chief operator at the wastewater treatment plant. In his previous place of employment, he had worked with Mr. Travis Wilson with S&ME. And so as I was talking to Randy, he's like, look, we need to call him up. We had good results. He's a good guy. Let's see if he can help fix the problem. So that's the first thing we do is we assemble a good team, people that are going to be able to work together and figure out what to do. First meeting with Travis, it was immediate. We clicked. He understood that, hey, we're a small utility. We're functioning off old maps. He knew the direction that I was wanting to go in and how we could get better resources so we could have things in the field when we needed it. And so we formulated a workable plan and how we were going to move forward in this, knowing that it took a while to get here. It's going to take a while to get it all fixed. But we also realized that we needed to be forward thinking and have that technology at our fingertips. So now I want to turn it over to Thomas with S&ME, let him kind of dive a little bit deeper into the story on how we were actually going to accomplish this.
Thank you, Russell. I'm Thomas Catlett, a GIS analyst with S&ME. We appreciate the opportunity to work with Russell in the Metro Utility District of Lynchburg and Moore County, Tennessee. And we want to thank Esri for choosing to showcase our project in this webinar. In the S&ME Water Services Business Unit, the ArcGIS platform is integral to all the solutions and services that we provide. That being said, where do we start when a client doesn't have GIS data like in this situation? Well, we start with what we do have. Russell was able to provide us scanned images of a 1978 sewer map. I was able to use that to digitize the manholes and gravity mains to create a base layer. This provided a good starting point. Now we were able to perform a sanitary sewer evaluation survey, or SSES. This is where we would locate all of the I&I issues that they were finding that they had. An SSES consists of 3 phases: manhole inspections and GNSS locations, smoke testing, and CCTV inspections. And as previously mentioned, Lynchburg is the home of the Jack Daniel's Distillery, and the distillery itself, as well as the wayfinding signs leading the way, served as the backdrop for many of our inspections. To perform manhole inspections, I created a web map for the collector app. I was able to publish manholes to inspect feature service from the base manhole data. Our field technicians were able to access the Survey 123 form using a link in the pop-up. We updated the locations of these points using a Trimble R2 GNSS unit. Below the picture on the left is a picture of the Jack Daniel's Distillery serving as the background of one of our area photos for a manhole inspection. The 2 photos in the middle are pictures of a Survey 123 form that we use for the manhole inspections. And the last picture on the right is a photo of one of our SSES crew members measuring the invert depth for a manhole inspection. Smoke testing is performed by placing a smoke generator over an open manhole, which forces smoke through the sewer system. Anywhere where smoke is visible is a possible location for I&I entry into the system. We record these positions spatially using the Trimble R2 GNSS unit that we also use for the manhole inspections. And we update the attributes and record those attributes in the collector app. We're able to track the progress of our crew using the operations dashboard. And below is a picture of a smoke generator in action, as well as 2 leaks being recorded and spatially located. For CCTV inspections, a camera surveys the lines, the gravity mains, and the attributes and defects are recorded. These inspections are integrated into GIS, and their locations are updated based on the GNSS locations that we found in manhole inspections, the survey links, materials, and pipe diameters that were recorded during the inspection. Photos and videos are available through links in the attribute tables. To the right, there's a picture of a camera that actually is used to survey the lines, as well as, and then the next picture is the back of a CCTV inspection truck where an operator manually enters in and records the data that he sees and views during the inspection, and below is a jetter that's used to remove obstacles during an inspection. Once SSES was completed, we were able to deliver the updated base data as well as the inspection results to the Metro Utility District. With the updated base data in hand, MUD was ready to harness the full power of the AEC project delivery. Now I'm going to turn it over to my coworker, Benjamin Lundberg, to discuss this more.
Thank you, Thomas. Hello, everyone. This is Benjamin Lundberg with S&ME. Today, I'll be talking about finalizing data collected in the field and integrating that into our final product through the AEC project delivery workflow. I will talk briefly about some of the behind-the-scenes processing and the steps we took to create a fully functional web-based GIS from scratch. As Thomas gave us an overview of some of the SSES field methods, I first want to talk briefly about steps taken to ensure the quality and accuracy of that data. We implement our QA/QC process while field crews are still in the field collecting data. A big part of our workflow incorporates an individual that is familiar with the current project, but is not actively working on the project. This individual is responsible for bringing an outside viewpoint and a fresh set of eyes to the field data and the QA/QC process. This process is built upon feedback loops where office personnel can provide field crews on feedback on any updates that are needed. This process is aided by the seamless transition between desktop, collector, and Survey 123. ArcGIS Online is our portal that gives us the ability to edit and view field data in the office. There's nothing worse for a budget than having to remobilize a crew to collect a couple of missed field points or a couple of missed but much needed photos. Esri provides you with many different options when it comes to setting up your AEC subscription. We implemented the following process for Lynchburg's AEC project. Once Esri has updated your account with an AEC subscription, the setup can begin. First, I would begin by creating a new named user or users for your client's AEC partnership. This will be your client's login to ArcGIS Online. Next, to help keep things organized, it's a good idea to go ahead and create a new group within your online organization. Add yourself or your publisher and the newly created named user to this group. After publishing maps and layers to your online account, you can begin to share these items with your new AEC group. This will add an extra layer of security by helping to limit access to your client's data within your online organization. Once you've published your client's data and it's properly shared, you can start to create web maps and dashboards for your client. Every useful map needs a little bit of planning and forethought. A big part of uncluttering your map is to effectively configure your pop-up menus. This is where a couple of lines of HTML or arcade coding can go a long way. The pop-up menus should only show data that's relative to your client's needs. For an effective map, you want to blend the right color scheme and base map, as well as choose the right symbology for your field. Labeling is another important factor to consider when thinking about the end user. Font size, color, halos, and scale-dependent labeling are some of the tools you can use to increase your map's functionality and readability. Some important questions to consider when configuring your maps are: will the end user consume this map in the field or in the office? Has the end user been exposed to GIS before? What is your audience and how will they use that map? And with more data being consumed on mobile devices these days, tailoring your layouts for smartphones and tablets is also something to keep in mind. Our goal should be to present the most information while displaying the least amount of data. A big part of our project delivery incorporates various forms of media into web maps and dashboards. We use a company called Ignite to securely host our data in the cloud. From a web map, a user can view a PDF report of a manhole inspection, photos of smoke testing, or video from CCTV inspections. This media can also be downloaded if needed. And this happens seamlessly through populating hyperlinks in the attribute table and accessing them through the pop-up menus. Using cloud-based data is critical to us since most of our end users are field-based individuals. Storing this data securely in the cloud ensures our clients have one less thing to worry about when they head out into the field. Having worked on this project throughout its duration, I've seen firsthand the ease at which ArcGIS Online and the AEC project delivery enables teamwork and collaboration between contractor and client. The AEC subscription is a natural extension of the ArcGIS Online platform. It provides a cost-effective way to share and manage a web-based GIS. From start to finish, the AEC project delivery allows ArcGIS online users to turn paper maps into a fully functional web-based GIS. And with that, I'd like to turn it back over to Russell.
Thank you, Ben. And I hope we can circle this all back to really tell the rest of the story and how it's changed, turn this into what I would like to consider the new mud. For one, we saw that during this process, we needed some more in-depth training for our personnel. Again, I'd stated that, the collection system was put in the ground in the 60s and it's out of sight, out of mind. So we needed, at that time, we didn't have anybody who was certified or licensed in collections except for Randy, who is my chief operator at the wastewater plant. And he got out of the plant some, but he wasn't in the field like the rest of the guys. So we knew that we were going to have to do more training there. Most of the guys had never even seen any CCTV work or smoke inspections or manhole inspections done since they've been here. So it was beneficial for them to be involved in that from day one at some level out in the field. They could see the benefits to having the maps on hand in the field by use of GIS mapping. They could see what that was going to happen. One of the first things that we actually did was we got that base layer with the manholes, and the collection system on there, but it showed the manholes. Where we used the maps, you get out there and it wasn't exactly accurate. That base layer helped us really walk down and find some of those manholes that were lost to time. And then when the smoke, it actually helped us find a manhole that had really been lost and it didn't even have a cover on it, which was a large section of I&I there. It's going to further assist us in rehab and repair of our collection system, which is going to decrease our I&I and regain capacity at our wastewater plant. Having this technology with us is how we're going to do future planning and maintenance, how we're going to plan that rehab and repair. It helps us right now assist in line and infrastructure location. We've got a lot of other utility work going on, different utilities, gas and electric, and we're able to take these maps in the field and do accurate locations instead of the old way where we did dowsing rods or anything like that. So we're able to tie that in with real time. Plus, one of the big advantages I see out of it and how it's changed us is continuous updating of the infrastructure by the use of the AEC project delivery and online maps. We'll be able to go out, repair something, and then be able to update it, or we do a full book of updates at one time. So there's a way to do that and continually have that support. It's also going to give us a much more efficient workflow. Our crew is usually, it's a small crew of 4 personnel mainly, 6 if they let me and the assistant manager come out and play. Most of the time there's 4 personnel out having to do the work. It allows us to take these maps with us and go, here's your work order, we want you to go out and fix this. They can go look at it right there real time, not having to come back into the office and dig out a map, get the right map, go back out into the field. So it's more efficient in how they're doing it. One of the things that we're really looking at in the future is actually having these work orders that are coupled online also. So the work order is generated, they take the tablet with them, they go into the field, they can locate the repair that needs to be made per the work order, fill the work order as soon as it's done, update the map right there as they've done it, and just make that process even more efficient. It's really neat because when all this got started, this tablet had sat in a vault, locked vault in here, and never was used. And now that we have these maps there, it has made this process flow so much better. The big thing that I think everybody needs to get out of it is it's changing the culture. Here we show 2 of our personnel who have the tablet, they're checking the lift station, they can input data into that, as they do that, and we're changing the culture. We always joke of all the, all of us about in our age range, we have teenage kids that if we have a problem with the smartphone, we hand it to them and they fix it. And that's, the mentality that I believe a lot of us have. But now showing them how beneficial this is to have, with them when they're in the field, they're taking that initiative to come in and go, hey, I need to use the tablet. We got to run out and look at this. Or even their smartphone. A lot of them have it on the smartphones already or on our on-call phone. They can take that with them. They can look at what they've got to go fix. It's right there with them. And so it's changing the culture. And as we move forward, the sky is really the limit on what we'll be able to do. It also allows us to partner with our large industry or any of our residents that, are on our service, and show them the data that's there. We can take it to them and go, look, this is the section we've got to work on, and this is why we're doing this. And it just gives that sense of transparency so they can see what we're out doing, and it just makes things, just ties it all together. So we're changing the culture both in-house and what we do and how we represent our community when we're out doing the work. Some of the things that's going to help on in the future, we really do want to get all of our complete distribution system mapping done. All of this will include our raw water transmission line, distribution lines, hydrants, valves, meters, flow testing of all the hydrants, tank sites, booster stations. All of that information is so vital when you're out having to fix a leak in the middle of the night. And so being able to see how beneficial it was with the sewer study of this and getting this base layers done, like I said, the sky's the limit on what we can do with this technology. And all of us here at Metro Utilities, at MUD, are seeing the benefits and what it's going to do for us in the future. I'd like to finish up my section on the slides with this quote. Recently attended a conference prior to COVID where our state comptroller was speaking, and he said this quote, and I went up to him afterwards. I said, John, I'm going to steal that, because I really liked it. It really stuck with me, and we've actually unofficially adopted it for one of our mottos. But it's 3 generations. Every decision made by our utility can either positively or negatively affect the next 3 generations. I really hope everybody can take that and look at it, listen to it, and understand that that's what we're in the business to do, is to make the best decisions we possibly can, because I want my kids, my grandkids, great-grandkids to have safe, clean, drinkable water, and make sure our environment's not getting polluted, and we're doing the correct things that we're supposed to do. We're stewards of all of that, and that's why I really like this, because that's how we make every decision here, is we look at what it's going to be, because we're taking care of problems now that happened previous generations, and now we're taking care of that, and we want to set it up for the positive in the future. So please take this 3 generations and go with it. And I'd like to thank you for having us on.
Thank you, Russell, and the S&ME team, Thomas and Ben. I think what this shows you is it's one example of how project delivery can be used in this situation where the customer really doesn't have a GIS or doesn't really have maybe access to it per se, and you're trying to work with a department, but you need to work collaboratively. And collaboratively is the key there. We're beginning to become more demanding of how we work together, and our communities, ultimately who we serve, are demanding more from us and from the services that we provide. They want their communities to be sustainable and transparent and more livable and ultimately collaborative, right? Like they want to be part of the story. So taking the AEC project delivery story one step further, we have this idea, our approach that we talk about around what are the aspirations of that community. They have these high level aspirations that we talk about, and then they have these initiatives that help them to achieve those aspirations, like improve water conservation or create job availability or use less energy. Whatever those initiatives may be, somebody needs to help the municipality, the local government, or the customer in general to accomplish those initiatives. So what we start to talk about is how to reach those aspirations. We create initiatives. But then when you go one step further, we start to talk about projects. AEC projects, oftentimes AECs are hired to help municipalities and local governments and federal governments to reach these initiatives, to accomplish these. And many AEC projects make up these initiatives. So there's usually never just one project. So one of the things that we need to do is to start to change how we are, not only how we're working with AEC project delivery and how we're collaborating with our customers, but start to talk about changing how we communicate what we're doing and why we're doing what we're doing. And on the left, you see this quite a bit where the local government or municipality might have an informational site that's kind of high level, introduces what they're doing and why they exist. And on the right, we have an ArcGIS online environment that has a lot of content and data. In the middle, what we're introducing is the concept of a hub site. And many of you have probably seen hub sites, especially if you've done any research and looked around the COVID-19 response that Esri's had lately. We use hub quite a bit to communicate what we're doing and how you can get content. And what Hub does is it brings these two worlds together and it focuses so that it can become collaborative, and it communicates with your community, with your project team, with your customer, whatever the need may be. This allows them to see exactly what they need to see, when they need to see it, and where they get to it, without having to understand ArcGIS Online, which not everybody has an understanding of, right? So this allows you to reach a broader community. So ArcGIS Hub Basic actually comes with all ArcGIS Online environments. Hub Basic is already included, and it allows you to create this kind of one-way communication and create these initiative pages that I'm talking about. If you have a need to go further and actually have a communication back and forth with those parties, you can go to Hub Premium. There is an option to add that into your project delivery subscription at a reduced price compared to if you were doing it on your core enterprise and working a bigger set of initiatives. And the Hub Premium, it's kind of like analogous to the old days when we used to create a map and print it out and then put sticky notes all over that map in order to get feedback from the stakeholders. Premium really allows that two-way communication, but allows you to do it in a secure way. It does it through named users at a lower level than if you were going to buy ArcGIS Online named users in your environment. The initial bump on Hub Premium comes with 100 named users, and you can divide those 100 users in that subscription any way you see fit. So you might have two initiatives you're working on. Maybe one is the road grading project, and another is maybe a pipeline replacement as a result of the road grading project. And you need stakeholder input, different groups for some reason on that. So you could divide those users up. So this is really a powerful tool that takes project delivery to the next level and starts to focus what you're communicating with your customer, making it, as Ben said, relevant to whom you're communicating with, and making it such that they don't have to always know exactly what's going on from a GIS perspective. So with that, we were going to check and see if there was questions to be answered, Mark.
Question came in: if a client changes the AEC company, can the existing AEC project delivery portal be taken over by the next AEC company?
Yes, absolutely. For the next AEC company, I guess there would be a transfer there because you'd have to stand up a new subscription. There's probably some capability for us to do a transfer. That's something I'd have to research. But we have a mechanism in play, because the pattern that we commonly see is where an AEC company starts to do this and gets MUD into doing some basic GIS. And then eventually someday MUD decides that they want to pull that GIS in-house and start to do some work on their own and grow what they're doing and expand it. They can bring that subscription over to their environment. We have a transfer mechanism that would bring that into for MUD. And then transfer the account, probably in this case, to a water account, because they would no longer be a commercial account at that point.
In addition, let me just go ahead and answer a few questions that we were batting around amongst ourselves, just some topics, and just maybe a couple minutes here. The dashboards that you showed, Ben, you talk about the process of combining the base maps that Esri provides through our products, the field data collection process, and then the need to put that together into a great dashboard that kind of tells a story. Can you maybe talk a little bit about how they're set up, and then maybe, Russell, how these dashboards are being used?
Sure. Essentially, we start with a good base map. A lot of our field crews, they don't want to use an aerial. They want to use a streets and building footprints base map, so they can actually see the building footprints and where they're located versus an aerial where there's a lot of tree cover. So we start with the good base map, and then from there we just build on top of that in terms of colors and line work, pop-up menus, and all that good stuff. So really the heart and soul of a good map is going to be your base map. Not only Esri's base maps, but also you can tap into, especially for here in Tennessee, the state of Tennessee has a really good portal where you can tap into and get a lot of good base maps from there. But essentially, that's kind of the gist of it. But yeah, I'd like to get Russell's feedback on the maps that we put together for those guys for MUD.
Right. The base maps are an integral part for us. Right now, we still are new in this process, but we're seeing every day how much more power is there when we have it out there. There's another layer or another tool that we can use. We use them, predominantly right now. We're still chasing down I&I And we can be in the field and be able to pull up one of those layers and actually do a CCTV video and be able to go, okay, here's the clear water, here's where we need to go to do these flow isolations. It can be as simple as being able to pull up, a customer call in and say, hey, I've got a sewer clean out, I don't know where it is. We can pull up that footage, get exact footage from, you know, the main line to where their tap has been made, and show them and actually mark it off for them. So, you know, we can take these dashboards, each one of them, and break it down and use it in different sections, or we can take the whole thing as an overview and really help us trace where our I&I is located, so we can do those flow isolations and get ready to do this rehab. We know what sections we're going to be working in. So, you know, I just foresee very next little bit being able to do so much with it.
Yeah, this is how you actually said it the other day. The communication between the control center and the people in the field is much more efficient. Just kind of boils down to the fact that everyone's got what they need in front of them and the ability to filter and access, tap into various depths of information, from CCTV videos to photos during construction to the warranty and maintenance info. You know, that's your static info. And then you've got this layer of transactional information, the data that's gathered in the field through Survey 123, Collector, and other tools, and then delivering that out as a real-time enterprise data solution. This is great stuff. And you started off saying you're thankful that we focused in on this little town of Lynchburg. There's a lot of little towns of Lynchburg out there, and the fact that you're benefiting from this and doing less with more is great to see. Maybe just real quickly, Russell, where do you see things maybe 3 to 5 years from now? Now that you've had success with an ArcGIS-based project delivery solution for this set of problems, where might MUD be 3 to 5 years from now?
My goal is to have totally paperless and have all of these maps both on, for our distribution system, asset management, everything is going to be used with this mapping system. We'll be able to put so much information in there. We've already started putting recorded easements in there, so when you pull up something, it's there. You can tell where the line is. Spoke about before, we want to have the work orders and that flow. I want to have it all tied together where they take this tablet, they're in the field, everything's done right there, but truly go as paperless as we can. We've already started inputting and scanning in all of our cards where we put in a new tap in the distribution system. We're already started scanning those in and getting ready to do base layers on that. So I really see the next 3 to 5 years, we've changed our culture and we went to a paperless route. So things are much more efficient in the field.
That's great to hear. Thomas, maybe do you want to touch on maybe kind of the same question? How does this change things? How do you see this method of project delivery changing over the next few years? And I pose that to you as an engineer, someone in an engineering firm, where you might be seeing project types actually dictating this kind of workflow. Private public partnerships, integrated project delivery, maybe some other things might be influencing how projects get delivered. Can you maybe just touch on that for a bit?
I think that this puts the capabilities of a fully functioning GIS department in the hands of smaller municipalities and utility districts and other clients that we may have, that previously this was completely out of reach for them and seen as being unaffordable and a pipe dream. But now it's a very real possibility. And remember, we were not really contracted to purely do GIS mapping, but it's just so important to what we do that we needed that information and we needed that data, and we were able to construct it all the way from paper maps into a fully fledged GIS. And we were tasked with identifying sources of inflow and infiltration into the system and designing a plan to remove it. So other clients having this capability and being able to maintain their GIS allows us to save time and our clients money in the long run.
Can't argue with that. Micah, your perspective tends to be 30,000-foot view on things. I'd love to hear your thoughts on project delivery and how the industry factors in the industry that we don't have control of necessarily, we might be responding to. But in some part, if we have tools that make project delivery easier and better, might we also be pushing the way projects get handed over?
Yeah, I think not only the way they get handed over, but I think it goes further back than that. It even gets into generally how projects are done more collaboratively. think Ben and Thomas kind of hit on this point earlier on, where it's a lot easier if we're working collaboratively and you see problems with something that I'm doing from the client perspective early on, so that I don't have to keep putting field people back out into the field. Now, this is not a giant project, but still, mobilizing people in any way, shape, or form costs you a lot of money. So that's one thing that it really tackles. The other, I'd say, is it's starting to align with this concept of truly being digital, right? So it's moving from this transactional file-based approach where you hire me, I disappear and go do something, I bounce some files around, and then I hand you something at the very, very end and hope upon hope that it's the right thing. And then you probably take it and maybe think about it a little bit or throw it on a shelf and never think about it again. That creates little value. I feel like we're not doing our end client, the end client, the citizen, the right thing there. When we start to talk about digital project delivery and collaboration, we're moving to this service-based approach where we're beginning to connect the systems and we're hanging it out there as a service, as opposed to making 1,000 paper maps. We make a digital map that shows you what's actually going on and allows you, the user, to explore and understand what's going on, as opposed to my view through a static paper map. Now, there's still a place for those static paper maps, certainly, but I think this really starts to change it, and it moves the data to the middle and allows many people to collaborate on that information.
Thank you, Mike. Stay connected with us. We're up on GeoNet, which is the Esri portal for communication of our various industries. Find us on LinkedIn as well. We're quite active there in the AEC user group, as well as just in the general LinkedIn feeds, if you will, and Twitter as well. Follow us, chime in. You know, we try to throw out every so often provocative articles looking for our community to put their 2 cents in. We have a series of webinars, as most companies do this time of the year, and our user conference coming up soon. Thank you for your time, and we look forward to seeing you on the next event. Take care.